Today, in the media conference with Lal Goel, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, Karu News, Organ Donation India Foundation, and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. And as you all know that right now the current topic is the cricket, because yesterday only the first cricket test match between India and New Zealand ended in a draw. So today we are going to discuss about the cricket, India versus New Zealand. The New Zealand national cricket team represents New Zealand in men's international cricket. Named the Black Caps, they played their first test in 1930 against England in Christchurch, becoming the fifth country to play test cricket. From 1930, New Zealand had to wait until 1956, more than 26 years, for its first test victory against the West Indies at Eden Park in Auckland. They played their first ODI in 1972-73 season against Pakistan in Christchurch. The current captain in all formats of the game is Ken Williamson, who replaced Brendan McCullum after the latter's retirement in December 2015. The national team is organized by National New Zealand Cricket. Excuse me. Please keep yourself on mute, to Mr. Grant. Please mute yourself. The national team is organized by New Zealand Cricket. The New Zealand cricket team became known as the Black Caps in January 1998 after its sponsor at the time, Clear Communications, held a competition to choose a name for the team. This is one of many national team nicknames related to the All Blacks. As of 19th November 2021, New Zealand have played 1,383 international matches, winning 539, losing 618, tying 15, and drawing 167 matches, while 44 matches ended as no result. The team is ranked first in tests, first in ODIs, and third in T20 internationals by the ICC. New Zealand have reached 2 World Cup finals in 2015 and 2019. They defeated South Africa in semi-final of the 2015 World Cup, which was their first win in the 8th World Cup semi-final, but they ultimately lost to Tasman rivals Australia. In the next World Cup in 2019, New Zealand again reached the final, which they lost to the hosts England on boundary count after the match, and the subsequent super over both ended as ties. The 2000 ICC Knockout Trophy win, now referred to as ICC Champions Trophy, stands as one of the 2 ICC tournaments won by the team in their cricketing history. New Zealand also won the inaugural ICC World Test Championship tournament in 2021, beating India by 8 wickets. The India men's national cricket team, also known as Team India and Men in Blue, is governed by the Board of Control of Cricket in India, BCCI, and is a full member of the International Cricket Council, ICC, with Test, One Day International, and 2020 international status. Cricket was introduced to India by British sailors in the 18th century, and the first cricket club was established in 1792. India's national cricket team did not play its first test match until 25th June 1932 at Lord's, becoming the 6th team to be granted test cricket status. From 1932, India had to wait until 1952, almost 20 years, for its first test victory. In its first 50 years of international cricket, India was one of the weaker teams, winning only 35 of the first 196 test matches it played. The team, however, gained strength in the 1970s with the emergence of players such as batsmen Gavaskar, Vishnath, Kapil Dev, Surinder Khanna, and the Indian spin quartet. Traditionally much stronger at home than abroad, the Indian team has improved its overseas form, especially in limited overs cricket, since the start of the 21st century, winning test matches in Australia, England, and South Africa. It has won the Cricket World Cup twice, in 1983 under the captaincy of Kapil Dev, and in 2011 under the captaincy of Mahendra Singh Dhoni. After winning the 2011 World Cup, India became only the 3rd team after West Indies and Australia to have won the World Cup more than once and the first cricket team to win the World Cup at home. It also won the 2007 ICC World 2020 and 2013 ICC Champions Trophy under the captaincy of MS Dhoni. It was also the joint champions of 2002 ICC Champions Trophy along with Sri Lanka. The Indian cricket team has rivalries with other test-playing nations, most notably with Pakistan, the political rival of India. However, in recent times, rivalries with nations like Australia, South Africa, and England have also gained prominence. The New Zealand cricket team are touring India in November and December 2021 to play 2 Test and 3 2020 international matches. The Test matches will form part of the 2021-2023 ICC World Test Championship. Prior to the 2021 ICC Men's T20 World Cup, Virat Kohli announced that he would be stepping down as the captain of India's T20 international team following the conclusion of the tournament. In November 2021, the BCCI named Rohit Sharma as India's T20 international captain for the matches against New Zealand. Ajinkya Rahane was named as India's captain for the first test, with Virat Kohli joining the team to captain the side for the second test. Before the start of the T20 international series, New Zealand cricket announced that Kane Williamson would miss the T20 international matches to focus on his preparation for the test matches, with Team Sothi named as captain in his absence. India won the first T20 international match by 5 wickets and won the second match by 7 wickets to win the series with a match to spare. India won the third T20 international match by 73 runs to win the series 3-0. The first test match was drawn with India needing 1 wicket for victory before bad light stopped play late on the 5th and final day, that was the yesterday. With the draw, it extended New Zealand's undefeated records in Test cricket to 10 consecutive matches, their longest streak in the format. The first Test match might have ended in draw, but it certainly proved why Test cricket is the ultimate test for the players. With occasional concerns about the health of the longest format cropping up now and then, matches like the one that ended in a pulsating draw between India and New Zealand in Kanpur on Monday showcase why the longest format is very much alive and kicking. The match kept the entire cricket fraternity at the edge of their seats and even made some of the current and former players as well as experts react to the beauty that is Test match cricket. The left-handed duo of Rachit Ravindra and Azaz Patel had the job of playing out around 9 overs to take their team to a draw, and much to everyone's surprise, the duo pulled off the unthinkable as light kept deteriorating. The last pair batted for 52 deliveries to deny India a win. The second test will be held at Mumbai from 3rd December. Now, to discuss about this topic, very, very important topic, we have a very elite, those who are authority in this field, knowledgeable persons as our panelists. And I would like to invite my first panelist guest, and he is Mr. Surendra Khanna. Mr. Surendra Khanna is the former member of the Indian Premier League IPL Governing Council. He is the former Indian cricket player. When the selectors decided to drop Syed Kirmani for the tour of England in 1979, Mr. Khanna was given the big break. He was the designated wicketkeeper for India in the 1979 World Cup. He played in all the 3 World Cup games. He was in the Indian team for the 1984 Asia Cup held at Sharjah. He scored half centuries in low-scoring encounters against Sri Lanka and Pakistan. India won the tournament, and Mr. Khanna was named man of the series. He was a member of the Indian team that went to Pakistan in October the same year. Between 1991 and 92 in Scotland, Edinburgh, he played as a professional cricketer for Corstorphine Cricket Club and Stewart's Melville Cricket Club. During the 1991 season, he scored 1,098 runs at an average of 91.5. Nowadays, he is cricketing expert of All India Radio, Doordarshan, and of course of Media Conference with Lal Goel. Welcome, Mr. Surendra Khanna, on our show. Mr. Khanna, you have watched very closely and you are watching all the matches, whether in India or abroad. And when you are associated with IPL, you used to go, you have gone last time to Dubai also, and this time, whichever match is taking place in Delhi, especially, you are always be there. And yesterday, with the match which was concluded, was very, very thrilling. And everyone was initially in the morning, the hope was that India, it is going to be a draw match because the chances of any winning was very bleak. But afterwards, after the lunch or tea, the winning was very clearly written for India. But the end was draw because of the last part, the partnership of two, and one of them was a debut batsman or the player. We would like to know your views on cricket, India versus New Zealand. Mr. Surinder Khanna, please.
Thank you very much, Lalsa. Good morning to everyone. Arjit and Grant from South Africa and all those who are listening and watching our program. Well, Test cricket is the real test, T20s and one days, of course, the shorter versions. There are many very good players in that. But when it comes to Test match cricket, the real skills of the bowlers, batsmen, wicket keepers, their physical fitness, mental toughness, their skills, their technique, temperament, and all the qualities which require you to perform at the highest level in days cricket. And these days, because of the last 2 years, this pandemic, cricket and sports is being hampered as the lives of other people. And it's not very easy when you're playing and staying in bio bubble to give your best. But all credit to all the teams who are battling it. And we have lost so many people in the last 2 years, our heartfelt condolences to them. But sports, since we are at home, we get the opportunity to see it more now, thanks to the pandemic. As coming to this test match, after losing to New Zealand quite a few times, in the Test Championship in England, and then in the T20s in Dubai recently, probably Indians had a point to make, which under Rohit Sharma, we won 3-0 in the T20s. And in the Test match, both the teams battled hard. And the present weather in Kanpur, wasn't very easy, especially for the visitors. The light isn't very good in the morning till lunch. There is that layer of smog and fog and whatever you call it, that smoke. And in the evening also, it gets dark very, early. So to battle it hard, and also the wicket I felt for Test match cricket, though not many people have the guts to criticize, there was no bounce. So bowlers had to toil hard. It was low, slow. कुछ गेंद तो सुर्रा हो रहे थे, एकदम नीचे जमीन के साथ जा रहे थे. So all credit to New Zealand, because Indian players are born and brought up on such wickets. New Zealand doesn't play on this kind of wicket very often. And they hadn't had much of practice of playing days cricket in India. And few of their batsmen were rested in the T20s, like their captain Kane Williamson and Taylor, who doesn't play in T20s now. So I personally felt that by saving the Test match, not only they denied India, which would have been a well-deserved victory under Rahane, who has a great captaincy record. The silver lining for India, apart from Ashwin getting that magic figure past Harbhajan Singh, who was a very fine off-spinner as well. And now Ashwin has more wickets than Harbhajan Singh in Test match cricket. It was the debutant Shreyas Iyer, I would say, who was nowhere in the scheme of things of the Indian team. And he got an opportunity because Virat wasn't playing, Rohit wasn't there, Rahul got injured before the Test match. He got a chance. Then he played in the 11 and he grabbed the opportunity with both the hands. Got 100 and a 50 when India required the runs. He showed his class in Day's cricket, and everyone was labeling him a one-day player or a T20 player. I think he hadn't played first-class cricket for the last 3 years, I would say. And to label somebody just a T20 and one-day player, so he answered his critics, and also uh, his arrival, at the international scene. So that was the silver lining, and all credit to Kane Williamson and New Zealand for saving the test match. And they go to Mumbai now. It'll be Virat and Party now to settle the scores with them. All credit I would give to both the sides for battling hard. For spectators, it was a good sight. It was a close game. We thought we won it. But then the last wicket pair of Ravindra and Ajaz, they battled 9 overs in that fading light and the worst of wicket where the balls were shooting low. So all credit to both the sides for giving us some exciting days cricket. New Zealand over the years have shown they are a tiny nation. They play with a lot of hard work, discipline, and to their plans. I would say that before the test match, they decided if they can save the test match in Kanpur. I wish they had played some positive cricket. With their opening pair, in the first innings, I felt they had a stand of about 180 or nearly close to 200. They should have attacked a bit more and taken the first innings lead, where they could have been in the driving seat. But that's how the cricket goes. They stick to their plans and they implement their plans very well. So it wouldn't be very easy for us. We'll have to play our best cricket to beat them. So on to Mumbai now. And thank you for having me, Lal Sahib. It's always a pleasure to be on the show with you, Arjit, and Grant.
Thank you very much, Mr. Khanna, for giving your expert views. And the way you have explained, I'm sure our viewers got the fair idea about the yesterday concluding match, because few are disappointed, few are they feel that yes, India saved, there was a draw, but many of the Indians are very much disappointed because they feel that it's only one wicket is the remaining thing. But as you mentioned, that's a very the pitch was not giving any support to the bowlers, even to the batsmen also. And but the way the New Zealanders have played, they have shown that they have class, and that's why they are number one in the ICC ranking as far as the Test cricket teams are concerned. And as Mr. Khanna has mentioned, now we will see what is going to happen in Mumbai. But one point which he has made very clearly, that the emergence of Shreyas Iyer, which is going to create now again a tussle, because three players are sitting outside, those who are to come, like Virat Kohli, the KL Rahul, and even Rohit Sharma. So whether he will, this a new player who has made a century in the very first match and the second inning, the 50 runs, more than 50 runs, whether what will be happening. So it is a good thing that now India is having lines of good batsmen, so that Indian team can claim that they are very strong. Thank you very much, Mr. Khanna. I will come next time in the next round to you. Now I will invite my next panelist guest, and he's Wing Commander Arjit Ghosh, retired. Wing Commander Arjit Ghosh is a renowned columnist and author. He is a former Ranji Trophy cricketer and coach. He is a veteran wing commander of the Indian Air Force who served in the Indian Air Force for 25 years. He was commanding officer of 4 Indian Air Force units during his service career, and also headed the Air Force Sports Control Board, which is equivalent to a state sports association, as a secretary for 4 years. A former Ranji Trophy cricketer, a level B coach from the BCCI National Cricket Academy, and a BCCI match referee for domestic matches. He has headed Indian military sports contingents to military world championships overseas as a chief of mission, and served as the Asian representative on an elite 4 members jury of appeal at such championships. He was CEO at one of the top international boarding schools of India for 9 years. He writes regularly on cricket in Outlook magazine in the national media with over 50 published articles to his name. Also, he writes internationally for a Canadian web magazine. Welcome, Wing Commander Arjit Ghosh on our show. Wing Commander, you have heard what Mr. Surinder Khanna has given his expert views. Now, you being also a coach and a cricketer, Ranji Trophy cricketer, you have also seen the cricket very, very closely. Definitely, we would like to know your views about cricket, India versus New Zealand. Wing Commander Arjit Ghosh, please.
Good morning, Lal Saab. Thank you for inviting me back on your show once again.
Yes, please go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Good morning, Khanna sir. Good morning, Grant. You have a lovely background to you. Great to be back on the show once again, and what better time to talk about cricket after the end of the wonderful test match that we had yesterday. As Mr. Goel mentioned, and as Mr. Khanna also mentioned, test cricket is a real thing, and it's great to be back to test matches once again after the continuous diet of T20 cricket that we've had over the past few weeks and months. Good to see those 3 slips and a gully and a forward short leg and a tall fast bowler running in from the mist once again. Such a nice feeling to see that again, as all serious cricketers would agree to what I'm saying. And ultimately, we all knew that it would be a close test match, and it turned out to be exactly that. And although New Zealand finally ended up saving the match, fighting hard to save the match, there was a time when things could have gone the other way also in the second innings, Indian innings, when we were down 5 down for 51 and the total lead was just close to 100 runs. And at that stage, I think we showed a lot of character, Shreyas Iyer in particular, as Khanna sir mentioned, to play a wonderful innings under pressure, which I rate to be better than the first innings that he played, that century that he scored on test debut, which was great again. But this innings, in the context of the overall context of the match, was probably a little more important to the Indian scheme of things. And as I mentioned, we were just 100 runs ahead at that point of time when he walked into bat, and we were 5 wickets down with all the top order back in the pavilion. And the fast bowlers, New Zealand fast bowlers, really had their tails up at that stage. So he settled down at that point of time and fought hard to make those 65 runs in the second innings, which really, put us on a firm footing in the second innings. And obviously Ashwin, later Riddhiman Saha and Akshar Patel as well, who all 3 of them came and batted extremely well under those trying conditions. But the ball was keeping low and the pitch was a little uncertain, and as I said, the New Zealand fast bowlers had their tails up at that stage. So it was great to watch that kind of fight back, and that is what Test cricket is all about. It's a test of your character, and these are the moments when the character really shines through. When you're under pressure, when your side is watching the match slipping away. And to pull it back from there, I think that was a great testament to the character of this young Indian team. And I've always felt that this particular series was more about, moving forward for Indian cricket at this stage, after having lost in the T20 World Cup and not done very well there. It's great to see them play good cricket once again, having won, of course, the first 3 T20 matches that we played. And in this test match, it was really good to see the batting coming good. And it was, to me, it was more of a tale of comebacks actually by young Indian cricketers. If you see, Shreyas Iyer was out of cricket. He had a bad injury in England and which required surgery, and he was actually out of cricket for a long time in between. So for him to come back and play those 2 wonderful innings that he did, that was great. That was really very courageous of him. And as Khanna sir mentioned, he was not in the scheme of things initially, and he only got a chance to play because of maybe Rahul's injury or Virat Kohli not being available for this test match and all that. And he grabbed the chance with both hands, as Khanna sir mentioned. Now, although we have a tradition in the past, which I think VVS Lakshman mentioned in a press conference the other day, where people who have got a chance to play in the Indian team and done well under these circumstances get dropped in the next test match to make way for the players whom they had replaced originally. So VVS Lakshman mentioned Karun Nair's case in that particular instance as an example, but I doubt that that will happen to Shreyas Iyer now after the kind of effort and the performances that he's put in. So Virat Kohli obviously will have to return to the Indian 11, and obviously someone from the middle order, Indian middle order, will have to miss out at Mumbai to make way a place for him. And probably if Rahul is fit, maybe at the top of the order, Mayank Agarwal may have to make way for him. But those are going forward into the Bombay test, Mumbai test. And as of now, I think it was a great test match that we had, which actually sets this next test match on a pedestal for all of us to follow closely and enjoy. And the New Zealand cricketers, I think they put in a great effort as well on these kind of wickets, which they're not used to, as Kanasa mentioned. And their fast bowlers, once again, Tim Southey and Kyle Jamieson, they really bowled well. And as I said, they had India on the ropes at 51 for 5 in the second innings, with the lead just about 100 runs at that stage. It was just the hard work, the courage, and the determination of the Indian late middle order, led by Shreyas Iyer and Riddhiman Saha and Akshar Patel and Ravichandran Ashwin as well, who put India in a situation where they were in the driver's seat on the final day. And for me personally, this test match had, it brought back some memories for me, because as Mr. Goel, you mentioned, I was working at a boarding school some years ago, and I was head of sport there, and, as well as the chief operating officer. So we had a couple of young New Zealand teams who came and played at the school at that point of time, and there was especially a spin bowlers camp that we organized for 4 young New Zealand cricketers, a 1-month camp, where they came and learned how to play spin. Actually, they worked on their spin playing techniques, spin bowling playing techniques. And one of those 4 young players was Will Young, who scored that 89 in the first innings, and he played the spinners so well. He had come in with his school days coach, an Indian cricketer called Debu Vanik, who lives in New Zealand nowadays. He had come with him, and we worked with him for almost a month. And the effort that he put in at that stage probably has stood him in good stead as he progressed as a cricketer. And then there was young Rachin Ravindra, who played that wonderful knock in the second innings and saved the test match for them. He had come in as a junior cricketer as well, with a team called Hut Hawks, who were touring India about 4 years ago. So he played at the school as well with us. And so it was good to see these young cricketers develop into full-fledged test cricketers, returning to India and doing so well. And that was something which was a personal sort of sidelight for me, which I really enjoyed in this test match. Looking forward, I think Mumbai is going to be another thriller. Probably a batting wicket there once again, and with Virat Kohli coming back, and the young, as I said, the young Indian cricketers who made their comebacks in this test match, having done so well, I think we've got a lot to look forward to in terms of batting. And of course, the bowling has always been a strong point with India, with this Akshar Patel grabbing his 5th 5-wicket haul in 5 test matches, which is amazing. And I really, which brings me to a point that I have in mind, which I really fail to understand at times, where young players who are doing well in a particular series, they're suddenly dropped for the next series, and you don't see them for a while, and then they come back suddenly once again after some time. And Akshar Patel is a classic case of that. He did so well against England at home. And then for the next 7 months, we've not seen him playing Test cricket. And it's a tribute to his mental strength that he comes back into the Indian team in this Test match and he grabs another 5 wicket haul once again. So I don't know. I mean, if you're a young cricketer who's trying to establish yourself in Test cricket, I would like to give you, if you're doing well, I would like to give you as many chances as I can so that you can continue to do well and establish yourself and live out your cricketing dream. Whereas that doesn't seem to always happen with Indian cricket. We've seen Akshar Patel sitting out for 7 months. We now see Mohammad Shiraz not on the scene anymore. I understand that workload management has to be looked into and all that, but then young cricketers having played 7, 8 test matches, 9 test matches, they're all raring to go. They just want to establish themselves. They just want to do well. And sitting outside does nothing for their confidence. There's nothing for their nurturing as long-term Indian prospects. So that's a point which I have in mind, which I'm sure Khanna sir and Grant will also have their thoughts on. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Wing Commander, for giving your views. And Wing Commander analyzed the victory, not sorry, no, the draw match of yesterday. But his point, as Mr. Khanna has also mentioned, and he is also emphasizing, he says the real thing is the Test cricket. T20 and the ODI are fine, but real character of a cricketer can be seen in the Test cricket. And he analyzed how there was a roller coaster. One time we were thinking that India is going to win. One time it was that India is going to lose, and then it was ended in a draw. So all these things happened, and he also have one very big reservation. He says when the youngsters are showing very good display of their character, the cricketing ability in the field, why they were dropped in the next matches, and and they keep away, and then again they have to prove it affects on the mental ability of a young cricketer. And he's, according to Wing Commander, chances to be given to the youngsters so that they can develop and they can play more cricket, and they can show more winning thing spirit for the Indian team. And he has given all the details, and he mentioned about his personal experiences, where he says that two of the New Zealand players who played yesterday were there at the school where he was CEO when they were young, and they came. One was Mr. Young only, who played yesterday, and he says that that was a typical thing which he felt. And I'm going to ask him, when I will ask you what is the difference when a opposite party country's player whom you have trained is playing and doing something good, whether at that time it's a very, very difficult thing, whether you are feeling joy, or you are going to have feeling that, oh, see, he's playing, he's still playing, he should get out so that our team can win. But it has happened. Say sports which has to win. And yesterday what we have seen, I think this Test cricket won yesterday. The spirit has won, and both the teams won. Both have displayed very, very nicely. Thank you very much, Wing Commander Ghosh, for giving your views. Now I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and he is Mr. Grant Wade Jensen. Mr. Grant is professional cricketer and coach, lives in Cape Town, South Africa. He is also the multiple Ironman finisher. He worked for 20 years as director of sports at both public and independent schools across South Africa. Currently, he is the CEO of the Tekla Foundation, a non-profit company to assist underprivileged sports people and create a platform to gain access to support and opportunities. He has completed over 50 marathons from 1993 till now, including international marathons, Berlin, London, New York, Helsinki, Gold Coast, Brussels, and Athens. He has also completed 2 Oceans Ultra Marathons, 56 kilometers, and 1 Comrades Marathon, 90 kilometers. He has completed 2 full Ironman Africa Championships and several other Ironman events from 2017 till date. He is a national level cricket coach, coached several teams over the years, including clubs, schools, and provincial academies. He has coached several sports over the years, such as hockey, water polo, football, rugby, track, and field. He is currently coaching elite marathon runners through the Takla Foundation program. Welcome, Mr. Grant Wade John Jensen, on our show. Mr. Grant, you have heard Mr. Surinder Khanna as well as Wing Commander Arjit Ghosh. They both analyzed the cricket match held with New Zealand yesterday, India versus New Zealand, which was ended in the draw. And they also mentioned how the test cricket is very, very important for the cricket thing. We would like to know your views on the cricket India versus New Zealand. Mr. Grant Wade Jensen, please. Can you just can you just turn your mobile in the horizontal position?
Oh, this way?
Yes, please. Yes. Now,
There we go.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I was
And
forced to use my mobile.
just keep your mobile stable because it is flickering and it's a live telecast.
I think it's moving because I'm a little bit nervous here in South Africa. You know, you guys are coming to us the end of the year for a test series.
That also I'm going to ask whether we are going to come there or not. There's a very big question mark.
I thought that's really why you wanted me on the show today, is more to talk about that tour. As far as things are going at the moment, it looks like the South Africans are desperate to have India here. In fact, what I do know is that the tests that were initially scheduled for Johannesburg and Pretoria, the New Year's test, that's been scheduled now for Cape Town, so it's only a few kilometers away from where I am. Barring, of course, what happens with COVID, there seems to have been now a new variant, but all indicators are that the impact is not necessarily as bad as people initially thought. So it looks like the series more than likely will go ahead. Us, of course, having looked at the test and seen how India struggled against the seam bowling of Jamieson and Southey. And it's quite interesting that from the test, and I think it's pretty normal for teams like New Zealand, South Africa, Australia going to visit in New Zealand, that mostly the seamers do all the work, while the Indian teams usually have their spinners doing the work. And it's quite interesting that the Indian seamers in the match picked up 1 wicket in each innings, and the New Zealand seam bowlers, on the other hand, picked up 8 in the first innings and 6 of the 7 wickets in the second innings, all taken by the seamers. So, and one would think that the Indian wickets are more spin friendly. So that's why I say, coming to South Africa, I think India could have their work cut out on the bouncier wickets that we have here. And probably also something in the news just recently is that one of our former players that took up a Colpack deal, Dwayne Olivier, he took up a Colpack deal with Yorkshire County and pretty much gave up playing for the Proteas. But I've just seen that he is available again. So it's going to be very interesting to see the Indian team against the likes of Rabada, Amrish Nokia, Dwayne Olivier, Lungi Ngidi. It will really be something else. One has to look at New Zealand and credit Kyle Jamieson with his top bowling performance. I think he's one of the quickest to 50 test wickets for New Zealand, and that really is impressive. So enough about South Africa for now. The test yesterday, I think, was phenomenal. If you have a 5-day test ending up in a draw, and it could have been finished, it could have been all over at any point. So credit to New Zealand for holding on. I think credit to New Zealand in a big way, the way they approach the test. given COVID, given the fact that teams are isolated, and countries like New Zealand have been pretty tough on people isolating and so on, and I've learned that a number of their players actually battle to even get to train because they have to isolate at their homes. And then when you look at how they've played, it's almost like being in isolation allowed them to be a little bit more circumspect about how they have to do things, a bit more patient. And you look at Latham and Will Young, they really grafted in their innings. In the first innings, Latham took 282 balls for his 95, and Will Young took 214 balls for his 89. So one might say that they batted very slowly, but what do you do when you come into foreign soil? You need to get yourself acclimatized to the conditions, and no better way to do it than occupying the crease. So to me, Latham followed that 95 up with another patient 50 in the second innings, which really is top class, and probably between Latham and Shreyas were the best batters on display in the test. I agree fully with what my fellow panelists, Mr. Kana and Mr. Ghosh, had to say about Shreyas. He really looks an unbelievable talent. I love that word patience, especially with Test cricket, and he exercised it. He can, of course, play a more aggressive style, but he knew that he needed to adapt his game, and as Mr. Ghosh rightly says, he did extremely well to come back in that second innings. And this is where the numbers don't always tell the true story. That 65 of 125 balls with two partnerships of 64 and 52 with Ashwin and a 64 with Shah in that final innings really set things up nicely for India to have something to bowl at and really give the bowlers a chance. And Shreyas, to me, he is someone that would probably even do well on the South African wicket. So he'd probably be one of the first on your list when you select the squad to come and tour South Africa. And hopefully he's not one of them that plays and you don't see him for months again. So yeah, really, all in all, I mean, when you see a test match going the distance today, there's all the outcry about how wonderful T20 is and so on. But this really shows the purists that test cricket is right up there and perfect entertainment. The umpires created quite a bit of entertainment as well with their light meters towards the end, and this is also something for the ICC to look at, I think, in terms of checking when to check the light meters. It really seems ludicrous that after every ball or after every two balls that the light is checked. I mean, that's just further running down the clock or allowing time for the bad weather to pull in. So ICC really needs to look at that and possibly, I can understand when there's rain, sometimes you think, well, we can finish the over and all of a sudden the heavens open. That I can understand. But when it comes to light, I think the decision really needs to be, let's do it over by over, rather than within one over 2-3 times there is consultation between the umpires. But be that as it may, that's all part of test cricket, and that's what creates the excitement. We had a wonderful test. I mean, it really was a true show of the team ranked 1 and 2. in the world, and also there's a gap that's developing between these two nations and the rest. I mean, there were three hard fought 50s, 100 by Shreyas in the test match. The bowlers really, Tim Southee really showing his mettle as a seasoned campaigner, with a fifer, as I've already mentioned. Jamieson was impressive. And then, of course, it's become boring already when one has to credit Ravichandran Ashwin. We spoke about him the previous time when I was on air with you. He really is just a tremendous asset to Indian cricket, and you actually wonder how he at any point is left out of any team. It just is something special with the ball. He's a fighter with the bat. He really came in with a crucial knock with a bat as well, on more than one occasion in the test match. So it really is wonderful to see, and I mean, being a South African, we can't wait to see this Indian side on South African soil. It will be another challenge, and I think we'll probably see different fast bowlers to the ones, or well, in fact, Ishant Sharma to me looks a totally different player at home when he's bowling in Australia and South Africa, where the wickets bounce a little more. He really is someone to look out for. I just feel that India misses a crafty seamer in the attack. You know, the type like Javagal Srinath, who just could do so many funny things with the ball, and just came at you. You know, India just seems to lack that, especially in the team that they presented against New Zealand, because you cannot always just leave it to the spinners, and it's as if the seamers really just went through the motions in this test. They bowled the New Zealanders bowled 90, seamers bowled 90 overs in the test match, and the Indians 52 overs, which to me really says there was not much in it. Second innings, 19 overs of seam bowling for the Indians. Yes, you would expect that on the final day the wicket does favour the spinners quite a bit, but in fact it was only after lunch when things really started to happen, and then the normal pressures in the final session, where obviously the spinners would normally take over. So yeah, you really want your seamers to believe that they can knock over one or two, and that also just relieves the pressure on the spinners. But having said that, the Indian spinners are just of top quality. I mean, you've got Jadeja, Patel, and Ashwin. If anyone gave you those three spinners, you'd think, well, they'll mop anyone up on the final day. It didn't, and I mean, I believe Rahul Dravid was a little bit critical. Well, not quite critical, but his comments were that the wicket was a bit unresponsive for final day test. The ball didn't carry to the slips and so on, which is probably, wicket maybe not offering the turn and bounce as would normally be the case, and maybe not enough big cracks. I think it's a bit colder this time of year in India, so I'm sure that all has a role to play. So yeah, that's pretty much my bundle for now.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Grant, for giving your views. And Mr. Grant, initial comments are that they are waiting that Indian team should go to South Africa. As you know, that South of India is slated to go to South Africa to play 3 test matches, 3 ODIs and 4 T20 international. but still decision has to be taken by the central government, because BCCI left the decision to the central government because of this new variant or mutant of the COVID, which has created a lots of
Raju, I'm on
talk
a
everywhere.
program.
So
I'll
so
call you
so
back.
so we will be waiting to know about that. But what Mr. Grant has mentioned is, he has analyzed, and he says that in India the problem is against the Siemens bowling, the seams bowling, and he says that hardly almost 50% of the bowling was done by the seams bowlers, fast bowlers, while the spinners were doing well. He says yes, India is playing in the home turf. There the spin bowlers can do magic, but India should understand, when they are playing abroad also, they require good quality fast bowlers. And he praised about the New Zealand players also. He says how they have played there, and they have shown their classes. But he is of the view that still India require, although India is having quality spin bowlers and the quality players, but still India requires good seams bowlers or the fast bowlers, so that India can match any other country well. And as he mentioned that the match was yesterday between first and the second teams ranked in the world in the cricket. Thank you very much, Mr. Grant, for giving your views. And definitely we are all looking for going to the South Africa. Depends on the variant and mutant, which has created a lots of problem in India. We are also facing that what is going to happen, although till now there is no such report which has come out that India is having those variants or not. Thank you very much. Now my question goes to Mr. Khanna. Mr. Khanna, you have mentioned how the India has shown the class yesterday, but one of the critic of Mr. Shane Warne, he mentioned, and I quote what he said. He said, very surprised, India did not take the new ball when it was available. It's strange, they are still bowling with the old ball as light and overs running out, thoughts, unquote. At the last stage, he says, why the India is not taking the new ball, why they were sticking with the old ball. Do you agree with his comment or not, Mr. Khanna?
Probably Shane Warne had a bike accident, and something must have happened to him that he made that comment sitting lying in the hospital bed. I would say that. When you are in Kanpur, then you will be in a better position to take a decision to take the new ball in those fading light. And the reason probably could be that only, that spinners could bowl in that light. And if seamers had to bowl in that light, probably the match would have been called off or stopped for play. That could be one of the reasons. But definitely, we underbowled our seamers. The way Yadav picked up Kane Williamson on the stroke of lunch in the first innings, I felt this thing that we have quality seamers. Why don't we bowl them? When Saudi and Jameson picked up so many wickets for New Zealand on the same very wicket in those conditions in both the innings, why didn't we have confidence in them? But teams play to their strengths at times. In India, we feel it's a turning wicket and we have three spinners. New Zealand find it difficult to play spin bowling. Over the years, if you see their graph. So probably from that perspective, our spinners might have done most of the bowling. And when you finish in a draw, I think both the teams need to be complimented that the match went in the fifth day to the last, just one over more had to be bowled or two overs if the light was good. So you can't complain from that, but you're always wiser after the event when you sit and evaluate that what were the factors where we were in a position to win. New Zealand might be thinking in the second innings, especially when 5 down for 50 and lead of just hardly 50 odd runs. Then New Zealand must be thinking when they had Young and Latham giving them such a great start and their batting faltered. They should have scored 450 runs and put India under pressure. They should have been a little more positive in their approach while batting. They were playing too defensive, like timid. They were scared. When you're scared, you're bringing the bowling on top with short leg, silly point, slip, gully, backward short leg. When you're attacking, the bowler must think that I can be taken for a boundary or for runs. That didn't happen. Most of the time, Indian spinners were on top. And all credit to both the sides, I would say, in the end. But definitely there is room for improvement. As Mr. Grant was mentioning, that if India towards South Africa, I think India showed in the last series in South Africa how our batsmen, batted against their quality fast bowling and thrashed them around. And Indian seamers have the firepower. But one aspect I felt, the way Ishan bowled, maybe it's lack of cricket in the last 2 years. He looked pedestrian. I think we need to have somebody fresh. Now look at that option.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Khanna.
And also, I'll add one thing.
Yes, please.
Contributions from various other teammates from both the sides. At times when we are giving our expert comments, we miss out on the value of Ashwin's contribution with the bat also, apart from his wickets. Akshar Patel's 5 wickets. Then Riddhiman Saha getting that half century. Akshar Patel also contributing. Jadeja's 50 as well. There are contributions, but we always talk about the best. So if somebody's name is missed out and people watching or listening might think that we have not taken that name. We are not doing ball to ball, expert comments that we can cover each and every ball and each and every moment. But definitely we talk in perspective after 5 days of cricket. I mean, it's 90 overs every day. If you see, so how much cricket we are discussing in half an hour or 15, 20 minutes or 10 minutes, which I get. So they shouldn't feel that. And also at times, 99% of India, I would say, they understand Hindi better than English. So Lal Sahab, our program should be, we should be allowed to use both the languages. You'll have more.
Yes, you are allowed to use
more viewership. Tell your channel. Yeah. And also, I do talk to you. Now let me say it on your program, to your TV channel bosses, that don't call us for free, please. Don't call us for free.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Khanna, for giving your views. Now my question goes to Wing Commander. Wing Commander, do you think that the separate captains for the separate teams are required? We have seen how miserably we failed in UAE about this, and afterwards, the same T20, we won all the 3 matches against New Zealand, who was very forced in the UAE. Yes, please.
Can I say before Wing Commander?
Okay, please go ahead.
I think we should name this India-New Zealand series. When we play ICC tournament, we should tell our players we are playing India-New Zealand series or India-Pakistan series, not ICC tournament.
Okay.
In the last 6-7 years, what has happened, whenever we play in ICC tournaments, we falter. But when we play the same very team separately, we beat them, whether at home or abroad. I'm reminded of a player who used to play with us for a long time, from school level till first class level, NP Singh. So NP Singh, from school days, he was a ferocious hitter of the cricket ball. He used to hit sixes at 6-8 feet. So whenever he used to come into Ranji Trophy, he used to fail. But when he played in tournaments for his organization or local clubs and all, he was one of the best players. So same probably is happening with the Indian team in the last 7 years, that when we play ICC tournament, we lose to these teams. When we play them separately, we win. So jokes apart, I just wanted to mention NP Singh school mein, aap mano ki we used to look up to him. एंड देन रणजी ट्रॉफी आनी तो वो घबरा जाता था रणजी ट्रॉफी के नाम से। तो ऐसे ही शायद आईसीसी टूर्नामेंट वर्ल्ड कप के नाम से हमारे खिलाड़ी जो है वो थोड़ा दबाव में आ जाते हैं। वही न्यूजीलैंड की टीम है और यहाँ हमने धो दी है। और थोड़ी टीम सिलेक्शंस भी, आर टीम सिलेक्शंस हैवंट बीन गुड, अनफिट प्लेयर्स खिलाए हमने। पंड्या couldn't bowl 4 overs, he was in the team, what was he doing? मेंटोर लेके आए धोनी को, उसने क्या किया? उसके बाद अलादीन का चिराग है कोई, उसको खिला देते भाई, तो कैप्टनसी कर ले। सो दीज डिसीजंस नोबडी, कोई कॉर्पोरेट कल्चर में अगर आपकी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में लॉस हो रहा है, आपने टारगेट सेट किए, एंड इफ दोज टारगेट्स वर नॉट अचीव, देन यू विल मीट अगेन। Why targets were not achieved? यहाँ पे कुछ है ही नहीं, चल रहा है अपना, वही चल रहा है, कुछ भी कर दो अपना, जो है धोनी को ले आओ ये जिता देगा। अरे भैया 5 साल से कोहली एंड शास्त्री आर अ गुड टीम, you played the world championship, we are your number 1, why are you bringing in somebody? वो क्या कर लेगा लाके आके?
Okay.
So many
Okay.
cooks spoil the dish,
Okay.
So many
Okay.
things have been happening, nobody is bothered about that,
I,
because New Zealand has just come in. I wish New Zealand had not come for 2-3 weeks. Debate should have been on why we lost in the T20 World Cup, why we lost the World Championship, why we got out for 34 in Australia.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Khanna, for we understand your pain and agony and anger because of the what is happening. But still, cricket, as you only mentioned, that it happens whatsoever in the ground, one has to understand. Now, thank you very much. I will come back to you again. My question now goes to again to Wing Commander. Mr. Wing Commander, do you agree that the India should have separate captains? And we have seen what we have seen in the recent, although Mr. Khanna mentioned that the name of the tournament matters a lot, a psychological pressure on the Indian teams, and they flattered, and when they are playing for the country name like New Zealand versus India, then they can play far better. But in the ICC or World Cup, they flattered. But we have seen same team, almost same team, could not do anything in UAE. They knocked out in a very initial stage, one can say. And here the same team do wonders. All the three washed out under the different captain Rohit Sharma. Even the test match also we have done good, although the light played a spoil star or whatsoever, but I think the captainship was reasonably good. And we will see now the next captain when the Virat Kohli will be there at Mumbai. What is your opinion about this, whether we should have separate captains or same captain for all the three formats?
Yeah, before I come to that, Goel sir, if I could just touch upon what Khanna sir also mentioned. You see, whenever you have an ICC championship or you designate a tournament as a World Cup, or it becomes a tournament by itself, that creates its own pressure on the players. And what has consistently happened over the last few years is that whenever we have a World Cup, whether it's a T20 World Cup, whether it's a ODI World Cup, or it's the World Test Championship final or whatever, the media plays a huge role in building it up. The advertising companies, the marketing companies latch on to that event to sell their own products. They create their slogans. They dig up past statistics and keep repeating it over and over and over again, saying that we are the favorites, we are going to win, and this and that. And all of that puts additional pressure on the players when they come into play. Like Khanna sir mentioned NP Singh, I've actually played with NP sir a long time ago. And I know how hard he used to hit the ball. We used to be scared to field when he was batting. He had that kind of power. So the same person, when he's playing in a Ranji Trophy match, the pressure of playing in Ranji Trophy was something which made him nervous, and probably could not reproduce the same kind of game in first class cricket. Now the same thing is happening, as he also mentioned, to the Indian team. When we are playing a bilateral series against New Zealand or against England or whatever, we are great. We are not under that kind of pressure which we normally feel when we are playing in a World Cup, where the media has hyped it up so much And the expectations are so high with 1.2 billion, 1.25 billion people all cheering for the, boys in blue or whatever it is. It just leads to a dipping of your own self-confidence. And also there's one more thing which I've noticed in the recent past. If you look at this T20 World Championship, which is just finished, the first two matches that we played there were against the two toughest teams that we had in our group. Against Pakistan first up, we lost, and immediately after that was against New Zealand. So the pressure was so much because if you lost to New Zealand in the second match, you were effectively out of the tournament, which is exactly what happened to us. So which means that you did not have the luxury of playing yourself into the tournament, getting into a groove, settling down into the tournament. So if as opposed to that, if we had played Namibia first up, or we had played Scotland, or we had played, Afghanistan, it would have probably given us the opportunity to play our game, to get into the tournament a little more easily than facing Pakistan in the first match that we're playing.
Wing Commander, I will just stop you here.
Yeah.
We were playing IPL there. We were there. So
Absolutely.
it's not that we have been thrown in the sea or in a hot water. We have
No,
thrown. We were
but you
already
see,
there. We were playing IPL, the same format we are playing,
I see.
and there we are showing all the colors. But as we
Absolutely.
discussed earlier, there's no money in those things, and the IPL is full of money. So that's why we are showing very good quality. And when it comes to the country, see, after all, World Cup or ICC Cup is a prestigious thing. And
Absolutely.
if our team is I should not use the word, if we are so spineless, then I don't think that we deserve it. When you are playing in a World Cup match, definitely the media or the expectation of everyone is too high. We want that
Absolutely.
thing. And
Yeah.
and all the players have become because of the media. So
So
instead of bashing the media, I think you must give some credit to media also.
all I'm saying is that it creates a lot more pressure on the players, and that pressure can lead to coming down in the performance, as opposed to the IPL, where there's no real pressure. You're just playing for a franchisee team. Doesn't really matter whether you win or lose. Some of the matches you see, they're hard to believe that they will end in the way that they finally do. And so there's no real pressure in that sense. Whereas when you're playing a World Cup tournament or an ICC tournament, you're always under the pressure that this is a do or die game. If I lose this, I'm out of the tournament. And that creates a lot of additional pressure on the players. I completely agree with you that at that level, players should be able to handle that pressure, because that is why they've reached that level. They've handled that kind of pressure and they've reached that level. But it's just that probably the weight of so much of expectation, so much of pressure, so much of media hype, it finally gets to the players, especially when you're playing your toughest opponents first up. If you had played them two matches down the line, it would have probably been a different game. That is all that I'm trying to say here. So again, I mean, coming to what you said about the media, the scheduling of matches nowadays, international matches, is actually dictated by the media, by the TV telecast companies. So their thing is that India must play Pakistan first up because that will create the maximum amount of viewership, and they must play it on a Sunday. Then only you have the maximum number of viewership. So therefore, first Sunday India plays Pakistan, the next Sunday India plays New Zealand. Both those matches are out of the way, and India have lost both the matches and out of the tournament. So whatever, I'm not blaming the media in any way, because they also need to play to their strengths, and their strength is a match between India and Pakistan on a Sunday. So fine, but what I'm saying is that it creates additional pressure on the players, which, as Khanna sir also mentioned, over the past few years, our players have shown that they've at times not been able to handle that kind of pressure, and we have probably not done justice to the kind of talent that we have as a team. So that was one point which I wanted to make on this particular issue. Coming to your question about whether we should have different captains for different sides. Now, this practice started way back in the 70s, late 70s, early 80s, when Australia, after Kerry Packer, started his white ball cricket and changed, international cricket forever. The Australian selectors had a policy called horses for courses. Now, you selected a horse who was particularly suited to a particular course on which he was running, which meant that a player who had that particular strength in a particular format of the game Earlier, we had no choice in any case. We had only one format, the days format. Now we have the T20s. Now we have the 50-over matches. So you have different formats. You have different players who are making their careers in these kind of formats separately. So therefore, the necessity of having a separate team has come up, and you have players who are specialists in one particular format. You have a day specialist, you have a T20 specialist, you have a ODI specialist. And there are a lot of players who are now making a career out of playing only one particular format because they don't want to, overload their bodies in terms of physical stress by playing in all the formats, and particularly in the ones that they're not very suited for. They don't want to play that format. And therefore, in this late 70s, when this kind of cricket first started under Kerry Packer, the necessity was felt that we should have, maybe a different team, maybe a different captain for different formats. And since then, particularly led by the Australian selectors when they started their horses for courses policy, there has been this practice of having different captains, which has worked, which has worked well over a period of time. So it's probably a good thing. But then, having said that, I also have a feeling as a former cricketer. I mean, I somehow have some very old-fashioned ideas about cricket. I always think that a cricketer who's good will be good in all formats. It doesn't. I mean, you cannot say that a person who's a good test batsman will not be a good one-day cricketer or will not be a good T20 cricketer. I mean, leave aside Pujara, maybe he might be an exception, but all other players, say VVS Lakshman. VVS Lakshman was a great test batsman. He was never selected in the Indian ODI teams generally, even Rahul Dravid later on in his career. But they were players who were able to not only graft and hold on to their wickets when they were playing test cricket, but they also had the capacity to score quickly, consistently. I mean, they would score 100 in maybe 250 minutes or 200 minutes or whatever in test cricket. So that same quality of scoring quickly, of placing the ball in the gaps, of running your singles quickly, that holds good in the other forms of cricket as well. So if you're good in one form of cricket, in my opinion, you should generally be good in the other forms as well, except maybe T20, which is a different ball game altogether. So the concept of having players for different teams, as I said, different formats, started a long way back, and it's continued till this day. India were probably one of the last few teams who actually adopted that concept, and they went with their original team in all formats till very late. As I said, the Australians had started it in the late 70s and early 80s, but India probably started doing it only in the 2000s. So therefore, now that it has caught on even in India, it is probably a good idea to have different captains across different formats.
Okay. Thank you very much, Wing Commander, for giving your views. Now, my question goes to Mr. Grant. Mr. Grant, you being a coach, you have seen that for last 5 years, we were having Mr. Ravi Shastri as our coach, Indian cricket team coach. Now, Mr. Rahul Dravid has come as a cricket team coach. Do you think that this change will definitely be beneficial for the Indian team, which we have seen that 3 ODIs as well as three T20 international with New Zealand and 1 test match, which has happened. These 4 matches were played under the coach of Mr. Rahul Dravid. And you have seen what has happened with Mr. Ravi Shastri. We have won many, but we have of late, recently, we have lost the ICC very badly. So what is your views about this, Mr. Grant?
I think I should also have 1 minute on the ICC trophy pressures, because I think South Africa is one of them that that also buckles under pressure. We haven't won a World Cup since since we've returned to international cricket, and even before, obviously, we haven't. And I think the one thing everyone needs to appreciate is that every single country, especially if you want to call it the top ones, your Indias, your Pakistan, South Africa, England, Australia, New Zealand, and I mean, we've got others that are other nations that have started to back themselves as teams who can win it. The West Indies have won a few as well. Sri Lanka has won. So there's a lot of countries all with the same mission, and that's to win the prize, the prize trophy. So there is tremendous pressure. I mean, let alone what the media creates, the expectations of every nation, especially those nations that have a strong cricket culture. It really does put a lot of pressure on the players. But then you look at teams like New Zealand, Australia, who year after year, tournament after tournament, they're always in the mix. They always, they always tip to do it. And I think the more you get yourself to be in that mix and then win the occasional one, it just becomes better for you going forward. South Africa, unfortunately, we haven't got the monkey off our backs yet. Every World Cup, it's become almost a belief now that, well, we're not going to make it, no matter how well we play in the bilateral series and other minor tournaments that maybe present itself. So yes, I think it's probably the good thing about cricket, in that it's not just dominated by one nation at the moment, that there's plenty who have a chance to win the World Cup. And then you have countries like Afghanistan that are coming into the mix. Bangladesh, unfortunately, they were a bit disappointing this time round, but in previous tournaments they have shown some positive signs. So really the T20 game has obviously exposed many of the top players to real competitive cricket, and the IPL and so on has all contributed towards making the shorter version of the game more exciting and developing loads of players. So in the end, when one looks at the world perspective on the shortened version of the game's cricket, it really is pretty healthy, pretty exciting, in that you're really not sure who's going to win it. We all have such strong desires. I mean, India is really beating itself up at the moment. But I mean, India have won a few World Cups in recent years. So it's just a matter of time. I think the fact that you are in the mix, that is a good thing. And India continues to produce absolute quality one-day players and players with belief. And that's all you want to see, is that there are players that when given the chance, they do stand up to the plate. I think given also the COVID situation, things have been a bit tougher for certain countries. And then also the one thing that nations need to manage is the player fatigue. When players do go from tournament to tournament, and that was probably shown a lot by teams like India and the West Indies, who have strong presence in especially the T20 tournaments across the world. And it really just shows that, well, maybe that played a big role, is that, some players were just totally burnt out. And how much control do those national teams actually have over their players? And that to me is a concern, because more and more of these T20 tournaments are coming up and places more and more demands on the players to play in all those tournaments and then still be at their best for their nation. So it really is a juggling act, and one where the administrators really need to know what they're doing within their own countries. In terms of I mean, to me, it just gives me goosebumps to know that someone like Rahul Dravid is now the national coach of the Indian team. Obviously, a totally different person to Ravi Shastri. Just the way they both played their cricket, and I think Mr. Ghosh has already once before mentioned how Rahul Dravid is going to bring a sense of calmness about the Indian team, and that's really how he played his cricket. we're probably going to see a lot more resilient players, especially in the test format. And I can't help but think that Shreyas's biggest influence might have been the coach himself, the way he played in this last test. So it's just excellent to see that someone of that stature has got a wealth of experience stepping in. And to be fair, he's also cut his teeth at under 19 level. He's not just gone straight from playing test cricket into this role, as happens to many players nowadays. So cutting your teeth as a coach is critical, and that blending that with your experience as a player is just something you can be very happy about.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Grant. Now, my last question, not last, but the question goes to Mr. Khanna is, Mr. Khanna, you played in Asia Cup and you declared as a man of the series, and you played against Pakistan also. At that time, it was why there was no such pressure that it was the name as Asia Cup. It was not India versus Pakistan. What are your views? 1 minute only, please.
Lots of pressure is there in any standard you play, whether it is Ranji Trophy, Dulip Trophy, or playing for your state or playing for your country. Pressure is going to be there. And if you are the best player out of the country, you must know how to handle it. You know, it's you're a doctor by profession. So any patient who comes to you is a challenge. So as a batsman, any bowler comes to you is a challenge, how you master him and score runs. And as a bowler, any batsman you bowl to is also a challenge, how you keep him quiet. You know, cricket is a batsman's game. We all know that. And like Arjit was saying, that we played our 2 strong matches. Same was for New Zealand and Pakistan.
Correct.
You know, we forget about, you know, how in the One Day World Cup that Vijay Shankar came in and then we haven't heard of him. You remember? How these selections we missed out Raidu. Now we didn't had Chahal, who was our leg spinner. We dropped him in T20s. We didn't play Ashwin. Why these things happen? Now when Ashwin is playing, he's performing in T20s. He's performing in Day's cricket. Our best spinner, over 400 wickets, was made to sit out at the whims and fancies of some coach or captain. There should be some system to check these, you know, checks and balances. Why Vijay Shankar was brought in World Cup only? And if you brought him, he's so good, then play him continuously. Why Chahal, who was bowling so well, picking up wickets for 2.5 years, and suddenly you bring in Chahar, don't play him?
Okay.
You know, there are a lot of things which you guys miss.
Okay.
Or general public miss.
Yes.
Because
Mr. Khanna,
we say Virat Kohli is a great batsman. For 2 years, he hasn't got 100. Who's going to tell him?
Okay.
Somebody has to bell the cat.
Yes.
If you are the captain, how do you expect the team to perform? You're good to the extent as a captain what the other 10 teammates do.
Okay.
Great captains like Clive Lloyd. I'll give you an example, just 10 seconds.
Yeah.
He had such a great fast bowling battery. Test matches are won by bowlers who take 20 wickets. And he had Viv Richards, he had Gordon Greenidge, Desmond Haynes, Kali Churun, he had Lawrence Rowe, you know, such great batsmen in his side, you know. If they don't perform, you lose. Then you're a poor captain.
Okay, sir.
Maybe the greatest of the player, but if your 10 players don't perform, and you have to set an example, lead from the front. If you're a bowler, you got to pick up wickets. If you're a batsman, you have to score and then expect the best out of your teammates. How you do that is an art, is a knack.
Yes. Okay.
When you are impartial, you look at the wicket, you look at the conditions, you play your best 11. You got to be honest in that, with a smile that every teammate in the dressing room responds to you. You have the positive vibrations in the dressing room. If you have a player of Ashwin's caliber and you're not playing him in the first 11, how long will Ashwin in his heart wish the team to do well. Nobody is a saint. Let me tell you honestly.
Okay. Thank you very much,
If you are the
Mr.
best
Khanna.
doctor and you don't get the patients, and inferior, those who don't have the strike rate of curing the patients or having better surgeries, you will feel the pinch.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Khanna, for giving your views, very strong views. 30 seconds, Wing Commander. Do you think India should play more test cricket? 30 seconds only.
Absolutely, because for me, Test cricket is the ultimate thing, and it's a test of character. That's why it's called Test cricket.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Grant. Now we all are waiting to go to South Africa Indian cricket team.
But
to
tell
go
us
to
about this new, virus.
Yeah, that's what I am
variant.
asking him, Mr. Grant. Now, what is the update about the new virus? Everyone is in the very suspense. There is no confirmed news is coming whether it's really dangerous or it is just a havoc being created by the media again. Mr. Grant, 30 seconds.
I think just in terms of the virus, it's more a case of South Africa disclosing that there is another variant. How potent this variant is, we still don't know. In fact, some of the reports I've seen is that there's no real evidence that it's any worse than any other variant. So it's more a case of we've announced the variant Omicron, and that's really what it is. And there's been a little bit of outrage from our president, lambasting especially Boris Johnson from the UK, that there was no need for him to ban travel to and from South Africa, which is done, and it was really not called for, because there's no real evidence to suggest that this variant is anything worse than all other variants. It's more a case of our researchers has found something, and we need to just let the world know.
Okay, thank you very much, paucity of time. So viewers, you have seen today, you heard all the cricketers and those who have their authorities in their own field, and they have mentioned very clearly Indian team is doing well. Only thing is they require to play in such a way that they must win. Even in the World Cup or ICC Club, they should not go under the pressure of the name of the tournament. As Mr. Khanna has suggested, that change the name and then they will be showing more this thing. And they also agreed that the separate cricket captain should be there for the separate formats, as well as the welcome. Even Mr. Grant welcomed the coach, the new coach Rahul Dravid. Everybody says that he is going to change the format. It's the total spirit in the team. So let's hope that everything, and as Mr. Grant has assured that this new variant is not that dangerous. Let's see that our after the Mumbai test, when the team is going to leave on 8th, they will leave on schedule, and then we will be doing some program on South Africa. Definitely again honorable, because to be very frank, I am doing this program for last now almost 20 months every day without charging a single penny from the channels, and I also not paying anything to the participants. I wish the channels, as Mr. Khanna has raised this thing, should understand, but fine, because I feel that if I will be contributing something to the society with a positive thoughts, that is also a positive thing to do. Thank you very much, and thank you thank you very much, Mr. Khanna, for coming and giving your time, valuable time to us and our viewers. Definitely, they have been enlightened today. Thank you very much, Wing Commander Ajit Ghosh. Thank you very much, Mr. Grant Jensen, for joining us from the South Africa and giving some relief to our viewers for the time being, at least, that that variant is not this thing that